December 24th. That date alone is stopping a lot of people in their tracks right now, because if you're on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, or survivor benefits, you may have heard something that sounds almost too good to be true, that money could be hitting accounts right before Christmas. Some people are waking up, checking their bank balance, checking again, calling a spouse or adult child saying, "Did you hear we might get paid early this year?" Others are confused, nervous, even frustrated because they're hearing different things from different places. One person says yes, another says no. Facebook says one thing, YouTube says another, and the SSA website doesn't always explain it in plain language. So let's slow this down and get very clear right now in simple terms. December 24 is showing up as a pay-related date for some people this year, but not for everyone. And the reason has nothing to do with a bonus, nothing to do with a special Christmas payment, and nothing to do with a secret increase. It has everything to do with how the calendar falls, how federal holidays work, and how Social Security is legally required to move payments when banks are closed. This matters because December is already the most stressful month of the year for people living on a fixed income. Groceries cost more, heating bills jump, travel costs spike, grandkids expect gifts, and even a 1 or 2 day shift in a deposit can make the difference between calm and panic. So if you're wondering whether money is coming before Christmas, whether you'll be able to pay bills on time, or whether you're missing something important, you're not alone. Here's the first thing you need to know. Social Security does not randomly send out payments early, ever. The agency follows a strict schedule set by federal law. But when a scheduled payment date lands on a weekend or a federal banking holiday, Social Security is required to move that payment to the previous business day. Christmas Day is a federal holiday. Banks are closed. Federal offices are closed. No direct deposits can be processed that day. So when a payment would normally fall right around Christmas, it has to be adjusted. That adjustment is what's creating all the noise around December 24. Now let's talk about why this feels bigger than usual this year. Christmas falls in the middle of the week. That alone forces more schedule shifts than when Christmas falls on a weekend. On top of that, many banks and credit unions release funds 1 or 2 days early as a customer service practice. That means 2 people receiving the same Social Security benefit from the same program could see money hit their accounts on different days depending on where they bank. That's why one neighbour might say they got paid early while another hasn't yet. This is where confusion starts to spiral. Some people see a deposit on December 22nd or December 23 and assume it's a special Christmas payment. Others see December 24th mentioned online and think everyone is getting paid that day. And then there are people who see nothing at all and worry something is wrong. None of those reactions mean you've been forgotten or skipped. It just means the system is working through holiday rules that don't always get explained clearly. So who does December 24 actually apply to? That's the question everyone wants answered. But before we break that down, it's important to understand that not all Social Security checks are the same. Retirement benefits, disability benefits, survivor benefits, and SSI are scheduled differently. Even within Social Security retirement, payment dates depend on when you started receiving benefits, and sometimes even your birth date. That's why 2 retirees can sit at the same kitchen table and still get paid on different days. Another important point that needs to be said clearly right now. If money arrives before Christmas, that does not mean you are getting extra money. It is not a bonus. It is not a double payment. In many cases, it is January's money being paid early because of the holiday schedule. That's good news in December, but it means January can feel longer if you don't plan for it. We'll talk more about that later, because this is where people sometimes get caught short at the end of January. Right now, the goal is clarity. December 24th is not a universal Social Security payday. It is not something the SSA announced as a special event. It is a date that shows up because of how certain payments are shifted when Christmas interferes with normal processing. Some people will see deposits before Christmas Eve. Some will see them on Christmas Eve. Some will not see anything until after Christmas, exactly as scheduled. All of that can be correct at the same time. And here's something else that adds to the stress. December is also when cost of living adjustments show up, Medicare premiums adjust, and deductions can change. So even when money arrives on time, the amount may look slightly different. That alone causes thousands of phone calls to Social Security every December. Offices are busy, hold times are long, and answers are not always easy to get quickly. If you're sitting there thinking, I just want to know if my money is coming and when, that's completely fair. You earned these benefits, you budget around them, and you shouldn't have to guess. That's why it's important to understand your specific payment group and how holidays affect that group. In the next section of this explanation, we're going to walk through exactly who is likely to see money before Christmas, who isn't, and why both situations are normal. We'll talk about SSI, retirement, disability, and survivor benefits separately, with real numbers and real dates, so you can match what you hear to your own situation instead of relying on rumours. For now, take a breath. December 24th, showing up in conversations does not mean something is wrong. It means the calendar is doing what it does every year. It just happens to be doing it at the most emotionally charged time of the year. Understanding the rules puts you back in control, and once you know where you fall, the stress level drops fast. Let's move into who actually gets paid before Christmas and why. Now let's talk about the part that really matters to your bank account. Who actually gets paid before Christmas and who does not. This is where the details make all the difference, and this is where most of the misinformation comes from, especially in December. We're going to start with SSI, because SSI follows a completely different rule book than regular Social Security. If you receive supplemental security income, your payment is normally scheduled for the first of the month. But when the first of the month falls on a weekend or a federal holiday, SSI is paid on the last business day of the previous month. January 1st is a federal holiday. Banks are closed. So the January SSI payment cannot be issued on January 1st. By law, it must be moved earlier. That means many SSI recipients will receive their January SSI payment before Christmas. In practical terms, that often shows up on December 24th or even earlier, depending on your bank. For someone receiving the federal SSI amount, that's typically in the range of around $900 to just over $900 for an individual, and higher for a couple. That money is not extra. It is January's payment arriving early because January 1 is a holiday. This is why SSI recipients are the group most likely to see money before Christmas. It's also why some people feel relieved in December and then confused or stressed in January, because there is no SSI deposit in January. The payment already came, nothing is missing, but it can feel like something is wrong if you're not expecting it. Now let's talk about Social Security retirement, disability, and survivor benefits. These benefits are paid based on a Wednesday schedule for most people. If you started receiving benefits after May of 1997, your payment date is tied to your birth date. If your birthday falls between the 1st and 10th of the month, you're paid on the second Wednesday. If your birthday falls between the 11th and 20th, you're paid on the third Wednesday. And if your birthday falls between the 21st and 31st, you're paid on the fourth Wednesday. In December, the fourth Wednesday lands very close to Christmas. That's where things start to shift. When a payment date falls on a holiday, the payment is issued the business day before. Christmas Day is a holiday. Christmas Eve is not a federal holiday, but banks often have limited hours, and some choose to process deposits earlier. So for people scheduled on the fourth Wednesday in December, which is December 24th this year, the SSA sends the payment on time according to the rules. But whether you see it on the 24th, the 23rd, or even the 22nd depends on your bank. Social Security sends the file. The bank decides when to release the funds. This is why you'll hear people say, "I got paid early," while someone else says, "I didn't get anything yet," even though they're in the same payment group. It's not favoritism, it's banking policy. If you're receiving Social Security retirement benefits, the average monthly payment is roughly in the $1,800 range. Disability benefits average closer to $1,500. Survivor benefits can vary widely depending on the work record of the deceased spouse, but many fall somewhere in between. The exact amount doesn't change because of the holiday, only the timing does. Now there's another group we need to talk about, people who started receiving Social Security before May of 1997, or who receive both SSI and Social Security. These beneficiaries are usually paid on a fixed date early in the month, often the third of the month. For these individuals, December payments generally stay on schedule. There is no shift related to Christmas for that group because their payment date does not land on the holiday. That's why some long-time beneficiaries see nothing before Christmas and worry they're being skipped. They're not. Their payment already came earlier in the month, or it's scheduled after Christmas exactly as normal. Here's a very important clarification that cannot be overstated. If you see two deposits close together in December, that does not mean you're getting double paid. For example, an SSI recipient may receive a December payment at the beginning of the month and a January payment near the end of the month. That can look like two checks in 1 month, but it's not extra money. It's just the calendar. Another source of confusion is early deposit marketing from banks. Some banks advertise that they post Social Security payments up to 2 days early. That's not the SSA sending money early. That's the bank giving you access to funds before the official settlement date. If you change banks, those early deposits may stop. The underlying Social Security schedule does not change. So if your neighbour uses one bank and you use another, you may not see your deposit on the same day, even if you receive the same benefit type. The key takeaway here is simple. December 24th is a real payment date for certain Social Security recipients based on the normal Wednesday schedule and holiday adjustments. SSI recipients are especially likely to see money before Christmas because January's payment is moved earlier. Retirement, disability, and survivor beneficiaries may also see early deposits depending on their scheduled Wednesday and their bank. If you do not see money before Christmas, that does not mean there's a problem. It usually means your payment date was earlier in December or is scheduled after Christmas exactly as the rules require. Understanding which group you're in removes most of the fear. And once you know that, the next question becomes just as important. What if the amount looks wrong? What if the money doesn't arrive at all? And how do cost of living adjustments, Medicare deductions, and holiday delays play into all of this? Now let's talk about what December really feels like for people living on these payments, because the calendar is only part of the story. Even when money arrives on time, December puts pressure on your budget in ways that no other month does. Grocery prices creep up. Heating bills jump, especially in colder states. Prescriptions don't get cheaper just because it's the holidays. And on top of that, there's emotional pressure, family visits, travel, gifts for children and grandchildren. Even small expenses add up fast when every dollar already has a job. This is also the time of year when people notice something else. The amount in the bank doesn't always match what they expected. Some people say, "I thought my check was supposed to be higher," while others say, "Why does it look like less than last month?" That's not your imagination. December and January are when cost of living adjustments and Medicare changes collide. Let's break that down simply. When a cost of living adjustment goes into effect, it increases your gross benefit amount. That's the number before deductions. But Medicare Part B premiums and other deductions are taken out after that increase. So even if your benefit technically went up, the net amount you receive may not feel much different. In some cases, it can even look smaller if your Medicare premium increased more than your COLA. For example, a retiree receiving around $1,800 a month might see a COLA increase of $50 or $60. But if their Medicare Part B premium rises by $30 or $40, the net increase feels small. This is one of the biggest sources of confusion every December and January, and it leads many people to believe something went wrong when, in reality, the math just isn't explained clearly. December is also when errors and delays show up more often, not because the system is broken, but because offices are overwhelmed and schedules are tight. Direct deposits can be delayed by weather, bank processing issues, or holiday closures. Paper checks, though rare now, can arrive late because of postal delays. And if you recently had a change in income, living situation, or household size, especially for SSI, adjustments can happen at the worst possible time of year. If your payment does not arrive when expected, the first thing to do is not panic. The SSA generally advises waiting at least 3 business days after the scheduled payment date before reporting a missing payment. During holidays, that wait can feel longer, but it's still the standard rule. If the money hasn't arrived after that window, then it's time to contact your bank first. Banks can confirm whether a deposit is pending, rejected, or delayed. If the bank confirms nothing is coming, then you contact Social Security. Be prepared for longer hold times in late December. Have your Social Security number handy, along with your most recent benefit letter if you have it. If you use an online SSA account, check it for messages or notices before calling. Sometimes adjustments are posted there before a letter arrives in the mail. Now let's talk about something that helps many people but doesn't get enough attention: state and local assistance programs. These are not Social Security and they don't replace it, but in December and January, they can make a real difference. Many states offer heating assistance through energy programs that help with winter utility bills. Some states provide emergency SNAP benefits or supplemental food assistance during the holidays. Others have property tax relief programs for seniors or disabled homeowners that reduce bills coming due early in the year. These programs vary by state, which is why you may hear one person talk about help they received while another has never heard of it. If you're struggling with heating costs or food expenses, checking with your state's Aging Services Office or benefits hotline can open doors that Social Security itself does not control. Another issue that surfaces in December is overpayments. Sometimes Social Security adjusts benefits because of income changes, work activity, or eligibility reviews. If an overpayment notice arrives during the holidays, it can be frightening. But an overpayment does not mean the money is immediately taken back in full. You have rights. You can request a repayment plan. In some cases, you can request a waiver. Those options exist even if the letter arrives at a stressful time. The biggest thing to remember is this: December feels chaotic, but most payment issues have explanations. They are rarely personal, they are rarely permanent, and they are usually fixable once offices reopen fully after the holidays. Understanding how holiday schedules, cost of living adjustments, and deductions interact puts you in a stronger position. It also helps you separate real issues from noise. And speaking of noise, there's one topic that always gets louder in December: stimulus talk, promises, rumours, claims that something new is coming just in time for the holidays. That's where we need to slow down again, clear the air, and focus on what's real and what's not, while also making sure you're protecting the money you do have as we head into the new year.